Hello, Facebook community. Ooh, there's Bird. Hi, everyone in Facebook land, our Facebook friends, our Facebook community. I am Maria, and I am here in the Tijuana River Valley, not the Tijuana River National Estuarine Research Reserve quite yet. And today is a special edition of Lunchtime Live. I turned it on a couple minutes early just to work out some of those bugs. I'm hoping that the audio is good. Hi. Oh, hi, Araceli. Nice to see you. Hi, Mark. And I'm hoping that the audio is good and the connectivity, which I tried yesterday. I did a little test yesterday on my personal page. And hi, Jean. And it seemed to work. So thought I would try it again. Every day is a new day. And yes, thank you for the compliment on the mask, a very official state park mask. So I am here in the River Valley off of Dairy Mart Road. Great. Thanks you guys. I'm glad it sounds good. Off of Dairy Mart Road, you can see the cars behind me. And we're at the end of kind of the dead end of a little service road that comes off of Dairy Mart Road at the very east end of the Tijuana River Valley. And I'm Maria. I am an education specialist and research assistant for the Tijuana River National Estuarine Research Reserve, and I'm bringing these lunchtime lives to you on Tuesdays at noon, and usually from the visitor center or somewhere in the northern arm of the research reserve. But today is part of Tijuana River Action Month, or TRAM. We like our acronyms. I am broadcasting from the Tijuana River Valley outside of the research reserve boundary, very close to Dairy Mart Ponds, if you know where that is. And hopefully, Tijuana River Action Month just kicked off last weekend. This year, we're going virtual. We've gone virtual. We've had a few events happening. This last Thursday, we had our first event on the U.S. side, sponsored by the Research Reserve, where we discussed and shared the history of Tijuana River Action Month and the Tijuana River Action Network. And today, this year, 2020, this marks the 11th year of Tijuana River Action Month. So I'm encouraging you to tune in to some more of those virtual events happening through October 8th. So it's about a month long, which is what we would do in person. Hi, Donna. And I will do my best to answer questions that come in. The visitor center is not selling these masks. These are for employees right now, but the visitor center is also not open. So quick status, we are not open yet, and we're working towards that, as long as the county is allowing that. Our parking lot of the visitor center is open, the restrooms are open, and all the trails are open. It's just the building that's not. And we are doing these programs virtually this year, since we are not allowed to bring volunteers and the public back for in-person programs. So we've gone virtual. So please check out our Facebook calendar for more of these events that will give you an idea what Tijuana River Valley and the important players that are here to manage and protect and preserve and educate about the valley and its issues are bringing to you in this virtual way. So I'm starting the Lunchtime Live series that celebrates Tijuana River Action Month by broadcasting here in the River Valley, and with a couple of species. Since I did miss last week, we're going to explore a couple of species that are very prominent visually and kind of ecologically here in the River Valley, starting with a castor bean. So you may have on your explorations in the River Valley or other places across the country, and we'll get into locations and originations of some of these plants, you may have come across a plant fairly large, very green, shiny, known as castor bean. And so I'm standing next to a big stand of it. It's in front of me, so I'm going to flip the camera around as we get into castor bean, or Ricinus communis. Okay, there is a little bit of, there is one behind me there, but the one I'm going to show you is much more dramatic. So let's flip that camera around, and we'll get you off the tripod in a minute. But you'll see I'm standing here in the river valley on the edge of a very vegetated area with a mix of willows, these tall, narrow-leaf willows and black willows, and this rather large shrub, almost a tree, castor bean, Ricinus communis. Yeah, castor bean. And for those of you who recognize and are familiar with this plant, you'll see it grows quite large. This one here is probably at least 8 to 10 feet tall and very wide, with large palmate, multi-lobed leaves that are green. And we'll get you off the tripod, and we'll get up a little closer to show you a more up close look at the leaf, but we'll see right now. So I'm just going to kind of hold my hand up here so you can get some scale as to how big these leaves are, and also how big this plant is. We'll back up a little bit here and see how big this castor bean individual is called. Yeah, so you didn't know what that was, Mark. Okay, so this plant, there's a lot of it down here, yes. This is, like I said, a very prominent, very prolific plant here in the river valley. And castor bean is a plant here that is a bit undesirable because it did not originate here. This is a plant from the Mediterranean. However, it has somewhat invaded and infiltrated and spread through the river valley and other places. Actually, this plant is found in the southern part of the U.S. from Maryland to California. But let's get a closer look at it first for identification. So we see this rather large leaf, castor bean leaf. You see my hand here. These leaves get even bigger. This one is not shiny, and although the shiny and green, there are varying stages of the leaves and varying colors. And we see here that it's in green, and we see in purple. And I do not believe that is eaten by any animals. It's a good question, and I will get into toxicity in just a minute. But you see there's these branches are, there's a branching structure to this plant that comes from the base. This plant grows from nodes in the base, okay, and branches out and creates these large leaves. And these leaves have that palmate pattern. They grow on these sort of purplish stems that we see kind of coming off of them in an alternate pattern. So you see these leaves have quite a long stem as well off of the main branches of the leaf. All right. Everybody hear me all right? I see there might have been an audio issue there. Okay, so we see that there is the vein pattern. Right now I don't need the macro so much because the leaf is so large. You can see that vein pattern and that palmate vein pattern prominent on both sides of this rather large leaf. Now, castor bean, some of you might be thinking, oh, back to normal? Okay, good. Castor bean is known, gets its name from not a bean it produces, but a seed. So in finding this individual, I noticed that we do have the flowers that are showing here, and I will get the macro back on here, that on here so we can see that. Bear with me. The macro, and we'll take a look at the flower. So we can see the flowers are very small, flowering at different times of the year, but now when things are drying out, the flowering here, you see the buds, small white flowers. I think sometimes they're red, and then the fruit. So we have the flowers and then the fruit. Now this plant is self-pollinating. So the flowers are both male and female flowers are on the same plant, pollinated by wind. And then produces these seeds. And here we see the seeds are sort of spiky, this kind of housing, this kind of pod. And inside, this will form the kind of brownish, kind of tannish castor bean seed, not bean. And we can show you over here. We have some dried castor bean seeds. And these seeds, for those of you who are familiar, have heard of castor oil, these seeds, the oil in these seeds were used for castor oil, which is used in medicines as well as engine lubricants, I discovered. Okay? But there is also a toxicity, a toxin within those seeds. So this plant, if eaten, is toxic, is highly toxic. Unless there's the process of removing that toxin for castor oil is done. So this plant, again, originates in the Mediterranean and East Africa. It has been cultivated for castor oil as well as for ornamental reasons. You can see it's quite large and requires fresh water. So you will find it in your riparian areas, in freshwater or partially saline areas. Now I'm seeing a comment here, no sound in video. I hope that has corrected itself. This is a challenging location. I'm close to the border. I hope we are still rolling. I hope we're still rolling. I know sometimes there's a delay, so I will continue. All right, so castor bean, Ricinus communis, okay? And it's got a reputation for being highly toxic, and it is. However, castor oil, cultivated and marketed from this plant, okay? And which also gives it its varying, okay, good. It also gives its varying looks in the different colors of the leaves, sometimes the reddish seed pod. So these seeds here, you can see they're a little bit of red. If you look up images of this plant, you'll see that these seed pods will get quite red. Very beautiful, actually. Okay? So it comes, where does the ricin come from? The ricin comes from the seed. From the seed. From this. All right. Oh, wait, here we go. Let me see if I'll put that macro lens back on. I just want to show you some more parts to this plant there. All right. And there we go. We got an up close of those developing seed pods there. Okay. All right. And so this plant will spread dramatically throughout the river valley, through areas of disturbance, coming down the watershed, since it is dependent on fresh water. So downstream of places where this plant has established itself, other areas will establish. If conditions are such where the area is degraded, the fresh water is coming in, bringing it in, and it grows quite quickly. As you can see, quite large and quite quickly, displacing plant species that are a bit more beneficial to native wildlife. Okay? So there we go. Castor bean. So if you're down in the river valley, or you don't even have to be in the Tijuana River Valley to see this plant. But it's typically an indicator of a disturbed riparian area. Okay? And we have some birds with us today. All right. So I did miss last week, and I missed you guys last week, and I was going to talk about another river valley riparian species that we manage for here in the Tijuana River Valley, known as or Arundo donax. And there's quite a bit of it around here as well. So we will shift gears, and I will go right next door to this individual castor bean. You can see how big this is. And if you see that the sun isn't shining too brightly, you'll see something even taller than the castor bean. And there's the giant reed, Arundo donax. If you've ever been down in the river valley and you see this very tall bamboo-looking plant, Arundo donax. So let's get ourselves a little closer to that Arundo donax and take a look. And this is also a plant that comes from the Mediterranean and the Middle East, okay, where that has found its way here into the Tijuana River Valley and other areas, not just here, other river valleys where disturbance is. We have quite a bit of it here. The giant reed, the Arundo donax. Sometimes we just call it Arundo. And this is a very bamboo-looking plant. Grows 20, 30 feet high. Okay.